this vote, the yeas are 218 and the nays are 213.
U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that voter ID requirements will be in place for the upcoming midterm elections, whether Congress approves them or not. In a post on his social media, Trump vowed to take executive action if necessary, declaring, "There will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not." His comments come as the Republican-backed Save America Act narrowly passed the House, and now faces an uncertain path in the Senate.
How are the negotiations going?
With what? Which one? We have a lot of negotiations.
No, with the government shutdown.
This is a Democrat shutdown. This has nothing to do with Republicans. This is a Democrat shutdown. They're upset that the crime numbers are so good. They're very unhappy that the crime numbers are so good. They're very unhappy that there's a movement for getting voter ID. They want voter ID. The population, 98%, want voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat in elections. They also want other things. They don't want mail-in ballots. They want to end mail-in ballots, which is corrupt. And one other thing that they're insisting on is proof of citizenship. And the Democrats don't want to give proof of citizenship. They don't want to give voter ID. Think of it. Who wouldn't want proof of citizenship? I ask you, Steve. Who wouldn't want voter ID? And why would you want mail-in ballots if you know it's corrupt? It's a corrupt system. We're the only country in the world that has this system of mail-in ballots. Think of it. The only country in the world that has this system of mail-in ballots, because they cheat. And the fact is they could never get elected if they ever changed. They know it. If you had voter ID, if you had proof of citizenship, they could never win an election. And they know that, and they're fighting to the hill. And I put this down with men playing in women's sports. I put it down with transgender for everybody. I put it down with their horrible open border policy as being ridiculous. They don't want voter ID. No voter ID. And I put that down in the same category with men playing in women's sports. I'm going to add a fourth category. They don't want voter ID. Go ahead.
The legislation would require voters to present government-issued photo identification at polling places and provide proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections.
We're talking about the Save America Act. You've heard a lot about it this morning. It is very important. Another thing, it is very important to American people. And another thing, the polls show that everybody's in favor of. Common sense legislation to just ensure that American citizens decide American elections. It really is that simple. Remember, House Republicans have already passed the SAVE Act in the last Congress and the current Congress. I was one of the original champions. When we first had the press conference out on the House step to introduce the SAVE Act, Chip Roy and I, Mike Lee in the Senate, and others were there to say that this is long overdue. Because we know that non-citizens have been participating in elections, and it was a simple thing to say that we need to make sure you have to have proof of citizenship when you register to vote. Everybody should be in favor of that. And it's what the law requires and anticipates, and we've got to make sure it happens. So now we have the Save America Act. It's identical legislation as the SAVE Act on the proof of citizenship, but as you heard, now voters would have to display a valid ID to participate in the federal election.
Republicans argue the measure ensures that only eligible citizens cast ballots, pointing to polls that show broad public support for voter ID requirements. But Democrats strongly oppose the legislation. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has called the bill dead on arrival, arguing it would make it harder for millions of Americans to vote.
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it.
The debate also raises constitutional questions. Last year, Trump signed an executive order seeking to require documentary proof of citizenship when registering to vote. That order was challenged in court, and a federal judge ruled that the president does not have the authority to unilaterally reshape federal election processes. The Constitution grants Congress and the states, not the president, primary authority over election administration. The Senate prepares to debate the Save America Act, and the fight over voter ID laws is once again at the center of America's political divide.
At one point in the interview, the president said that he believes states are accumulating the votes for who wins the election. He says if they, meaning the states, can't do it honestly and can't be done properly and timely, then something else has to happen. What did he mean by that? Is he suggesting that the federal government count votes in elections?
What the president is suggesting, and I just spoke to him about this, is that Republicans and Democrats in Congress should pass the Save America Act. This piece of legislation is going to ensure that states are abiding by federal election law by removing non-citizens from their voter rolls. In addition, the Save America Act will require voter ID to vote, and it will require proof of citizenship to register to vote. These are very common sense policies and proposals that 89% of our country agree with. So that's what the president is talking about. Again, I just spoke with him about this, and he's calling on both Republicans and Democrats to send the Save America Act, to pass it into law and to send it to his desk as quickly as possible.
To be clear, the SAVE Act doesn't say anything about who counts votes, which has always been a state, a local, a county function. Why does he keep talking about somebody else, presumably the federal government, counting votes?
Because the SAVE Act directs states to remove non-citizens from their voter rolls. And we know in states across the country, the president is right to point this out, in states like California or in places like New York City, non-citizens are allowed to vote in state and local elections. And the federal government should absolutely do away with that. I don't think a single person in this room, if you really are being honest with yourselves, should agree that non-citizens should vote in American elections, no matter where that election is up and down the ticket. And so this is a piece of federal legislation that will help states ensure the integrity and the sanctity of their elections, and that's what the president wants. Peter.
Thanks, Caroline. President Trump posted about Nancy Guthrie that he is directing all federal law enforcement to be at the families and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. What should we expect to see from the federal government in coming days in the search to find Nancy Guthrie?
It's a very good question, Peter, and it's why I was on the phone with the FBI earlier this morning to ask that. And what they told me is that the FBI, again, is at the disposal of the state and local government. Whatever personnel or assets or resources that the state and local authorities and police need will be granted to them at the direction of the president, the FBI director, and the attorney general.
A different law enforcement issue. The FBI just found 1,000 samples inside an illegal biolab in Las Vegas. It is linked to a different biolab that was previously raided. There are ties to China. What does the president think the CCP might be up to here?
I haven't spoken to him about this specific investigation from the FBI, but I'm happy to, and I'm sure he's very glad that this is something the FBI discovered, and we'll make sure anyone who is involved in illegal activity will be held accountable.
And just one more about this weekend. At the Mar-a-Lago Super Bowl party, after the first two quarters, are the TVs going to be on the halftime show with Bad Bunny or the halftime show with Kid Rock?
I think the president would much prefer a Kid Rock performance over Bad Bunny, I must say that.